Hello students, I welcome you all. Today we will be discussing a topic from the microeconomics, which is production function. So let's get started. So before understanding production function, let's first understand what is actually production. So the first question comes up is, what is production? Production is a process of transforming your inputs into the output. For example, if I have to make shoes, so in order to make shoes, I will be needing leather, I will be needing some nails, some labor, capital, my efforts, which is entrepreneurship, and so on. So I'll combine all these inputs to make a final output, which is shoes. So production is basically transformation of inputs into the outputs, or in other words I would say combining the raw materials in order to get the finished good. So production is basically your economic activity. Why it is an economic activity? Because once the product is ready, the firm or the entrepreneur will sell it into the market and will get money in exchange of its product. So it is an economic activity. Any commodity or any service, any good which generates income is counted as an economic activity. Since the production describes the situation from the producer's point of view, it has the ability to enhance the utility of consumers. That is, the producers make those commodities which the consumers has the ability to satisfy their utility. Okay, so we have understood what is production. So next comes up, what is production function? So production function is basically an expression which shows the relationship between physical inputs and output. That is, production function describes the relationship between all the inputs which has been used to make a particular commodity or particular output and the product itself. So it is a technological relationship. That is, using the technology which will be used to transform the input into the output. So this expression can be written as, it can be written in the form of Ox equals to function of I1, I2, I3 till In. What does this mean? This means that the output for commodity X is a function of, F is the function of these n number of inputs. I1, I2 till In are the n number of inputs which will be used to make the particular commodity X, for the output X. Suppose I have to make chairs. So output of chair is a function of labor and capital. Suppose for making chair we use only two inputs, that is labor and capital. We will be using only two inputs. So the production function tells the maximum amount of output that can be generated using the particular units of input. For example, if I write 250 equals to 7L, 5K. What does this mean? It means that 250 number of chairs can be made using 7 units of labor and 5 units of capital. So this 250 is the maximum amount of chairs that can be made using these units of labor and capital. So next comes that the production function is always said in terms of technology. If there is improvement in technology, then the output will be increased. Output will be increased even with the same level of inputs. Even we don't increase the number of units of labor and capital, but there is improvement in the technology, then the transformation from the input to output will be more. The output will be produced more. So this is the case even when the number of inputs, number of units of input is unchanged. On the other hand, if we use obsolete technology, so then there will be decrease in the amount of output. If we increase the units of input, there will be increase in the output, but the proportionate change will be less because of the obsolete technology which we will be using in our production. So technology has a great impact in transforming the inputs into the output. This functional relationship takes place in two phases. There are two phases. One is your short run and one is your long run. To understand these two phases, the short run and the long run, we have to simultaneously understand what are the variable factors and what are the fixed factors. These are basically your factors of production. Factors of production are the inputs which will be used to produce the output. So they have been divided into these two categories. Some variables are, some factors are variable and some factors are fixed. So based on this classification, there are two phases. So one is short run and one is long run. So in short run, this is the period in which the output can be changed only by changing these variable factors. It is a period in which output is changed by changing only the variable factors. By changing only variable factors. Right. Now what are variable factors? Now suppose I have got a huge order suddenly and I have to deliver it. Now what are variable factors? Now suppose if I got a huge order suddenly, now I have to deliver it in 2 days. Then I cannot increase my factory size suddenly. I cannot buy a new plant and machinery. I cannot set up a new machinery in 2 days in order to fulfill my order. So the variables, so the factors which I cannot change immediately, I cannot increase or decrease them immediately are the fixed factors. And the factors which I can change immediately, increase or decrease the quantity immediately are your variable factors. So in the production, your labor can be variable factor. You can increase the quantity of your labor, you can decrease the quantity of your labor. Raw material required. You can increase the quantity of the raw material whenever you require to increase the output, and you can decrease it accordingly. But you cannot purchase a land immediately, or you cannot set up a new factory immediately. So the factors which cannot be changed, factors which cannot be changed immediately, and factors which can be changed are your variable factors. So in the short run, you can only change your variable factors and you cannot change your fixed factors. So that period in which the output is changed, output is increased only by increasing the variable factor and not by the fixed factors. While in the long run, it is a period in which output can be changed by changing all the factors. Now, there is a point to understand. In the long run, we have all the factors as variable factors. We don't have any concept of fixed factor in the long run, because in the long run we have a huge time to change any factor, even it is fixed or even it is variable. We can have a new factory. We can set up a new machinery or new plant. So in the long run, our all factors of production becomes variable, while in the short run there is a category of variable and fixed. So in the short run only the variable factors can be changed, while in the long run all the factors can be changed because we have ample amount of time. So in the short run I could say that some factors are variable and some factors are fixed. We can actually classify them into the different factors in short run, while in the long run I would say that all factors are variable, because in the long run we have the ability to change our factors, while in the short run we don't have any ability. Now the third point of difference between the short run and the long run is the concept of demand and supply. Now in the short run, demand is more active in the price determination. We know that the price is determined by the intersection of demand and supply. This is your demand, this is your supply, and the intersection of these will lead to the determination of price. But in short run, demand is more active than the supply. Now suppose there is increase in the demand of a particular commodity, we cannot increase the supply immediately. So in this case, in short run, demand is more active than the supply in determination of price. Demand will play a greater role. While on the other hand, in long run, both demand and supply have an equal role in price determination. As we have the ability to increase or decrease the supply based on the demand that we are getting for our product. Next, we will be coming to the difference between the variable factor and the fixed factor in a more thorough way. Variable factors that can be changed in the short run can be changed in the short run because we have the ability to change it, while the fixed factors cannot be changed in short run. Example, for variable factors, we can increase or decrease the raw material required, we can increase or decrease the number of employees that we need in a firm. So raw material, labor, etc. While fixed factor is your plant and machinery, you cannot set up a new machinery or a new plant overnight. Factory size, land, right? So the variable factor directly varies with the output. It directly varies with your output. That is, when variable factor increases, your output increases. When you will increase the quantity of raw material, your output will be increased. When you decrease the quantity, your output will be decreased. At zero level of output, your variable factor will be 0. Obviously, when you don't produce anything, there will be no need of any raw material or any labor to be appointed. So at 0 level of output, you don't have to incur the cost of variable factor. While in this fixed factor, it do not vary with the output. It is directly with the output. That is, even at the 0 level of output, you have to incur the cost of the fixed factor. Cost of fixed factor has to be incurred. Because if you have a land on rent, so you have to pay the rent even if you are not producing anything. Even your factory is closed, then also you have to pay the rent even if you are not producing anything. So the cost of the fixed factor has to be increased, while for the cost of the variable factor, it depends on the level of output that you are producing. If you are increasing your output, you have to incur the more cost. So it varies with the output and it do not vary with the output. So based on the distinction between the fixed factor and the variable factor, we have two different types of production function. One is your short-run production function and one is your long-run production function. Short-run production function is also known as variable proportion time, and long-run production function is also known as constant proportion time. So let's understand what is short-run production function. In short-run production function, as we all know, in short-run we have both fixed factor as well as variable factor. So in the short-run production function, our output can only be increased by changing only one input, and all other inputs will be remain constant. So the output will be increased only by changing one input, and all other inputs will remain constant. They will remain unchanged. So the increase in the output, the amount of output which will be increased, that will only be because of the increase in one input, and all other inputs will remain unchanged. While in the long run production function, the output will increase by changing or by increasing all the inputs in same proportion. That is, if we have to increase the output, we have to increase all the inputs, and that too in the same proportion. Then this is the long run production function, because in long run we have all our factors as variable factors, so we can increase all the outputs in the same proportion, and then our output will increase. So hence it is the constant proportion type, and this is variable proportion type. So when we are increasing only one input in the short run production function, so the ratio of inputs at different level of output will be different. For example, at output level 1, 2, 3. At output level 1, we have variable factor as 1, fixed factor let's say 1. At level 2, our variable factor is 2, fixed factor is again 1. At level of output 3, variable factor is 3 and fixed factor is again 1. So the ratio will become 1:1, 2:1, 3:1, which is 1, 2 and 3. So as variable factor is increasing, our output is also increasing, and the fixed factors remain constant. So when we have to increase the output, we have to increase only one input, and all other inputs will remain unchanged. So we have different ratios at different level of output. While in this long run production function, the ratio will be constant as we are increasing all the inputs in the same proportion. For example, variable factor is 5, 10, 15 and fixed factor is 10, 20, 30. In the long run, we can change the fixed factor as well. I can have n number of factories, I can have n number of machines, I have the ability to change my fixed factor in the long run. So I can change it here. So the ratio will become 5:10, 10:20, 15:30. So it will become 1:2, 1:2, 1:2. So the ratio is constant throughout. As the variable factor is increasing, fixed factor is increasing, our output will increase because of increase in both the factors. So yeah, this is the constant proportion type and this is a variable proportion type. This functional relationship takes place in two phases. There are two phases. One is your short run and one is your long run. To understand these two phases, the short run and the long run, we have to simultaneously understand what are the variable factors and what are the fixed factors. These are basically your factors of production. Factors of production are the inputs which will be used to produce the output. So they have been divided into these two categories. Some factors are variable and some factors are fixed. So based on this classification, there are two phases. So one is short run and one is long run. So in short run, this is the period in which the output can be changed only by changing these variable factors. It is a period in which output is changed by changing only the variable factors. By changing only variable factors.